Sweet Tea and Secrets by Bevin G. Studstill. For every woman who saved her own life and lived to tell the story on her own terms. Chapter 1. Sweet Tea and Strangers. The man walked into Bellamy's cafe on a Tuesday morning in July, and Tasha Bellamy forgot the word for sugar. She was mid-sentence, telling Mrs. Patterson about the new cornbread recipe she'd been testing, when the bell above the door chimed, and a man filled the frame like he'd been cut to fit it. Tall, brown skin the color of red clay after rain, smooth except for a scar that hooked from the corner of his left eye toward his temple, a pale crescent that looked like someone had started writing a question mark and quit halfway through. Military posture, shoulders squared against the doorframe like it had insulted him, dark jeans, a plain black t-shirt, and a green duffel bag slung over one shoulder that looked like it held everything he owned in the world. He settled onto the counter stool closest to the door, a man who kept his exits close. "Mornin'," Tasha said, because the silence was getting heavy, and Mrs. Patterson was staring hard enough to bore holes. She poured coffee into a white ceramic mug without being asked. "Passing through or staying a while?"
"Depends."
His voice was low and unhurried, a voice that made you lean in instead of leaning back. He wrapped both hands around the mug like he was anchoring himself to the counter. The knuckles were scarred, pink-white lines across dark skin. The left pinky was slightly crooked, a break that had healed without a doctor's help.
"It's the only restaurant in town?"
"Only one worth eating at. There's a Waffle House off the interstate, but I pretend it doesn't exist."
"Then I'm probably staying."
He took a sip. His eyebrows lifted, the first crack in a face that had been giving away nothing.
"You make this?"
"Every morning. Grind the beans fresh. Source 'em from a roaster in Birmingham who does small batches. Medium roast because life is too short for burnt coffee." She was talking too much. She could feel it. The nervous energy humming through her hands, making her wipe the same spot on the counter a second time. New people came through Honeycomb sometimes, truckers mostly, the occasional tourist who'd gotten lost looking for the antebellum homes in Selma. This man was neither. "You hungry? Biscuits just came out."
"Please."
She set a plate in front of him, 2 buttermilk biscuits, golden topped and split, steam still curling from the soft centers. The recipe was her grandmother's, the one Mama Lois had pressed into her palm the summer before she passed, written on a grease-stained index card, in handwriting that tilted left like it was leaning into wind. 2 cups white lily flour, 1 tablespoon baking powder, 1 teaspoon salt, 6 tablespoons lard, cold, 3/4 cup whole buttermilk. Do not overwork the dough, child. Tasha had memorized it by heart. The card itself lived in a Ziploc bag taped to the inside of her pantry door, because some things deserved to be preserved exactly as they were given. The man bit into the biscuit and closed his eyes. Not for show, not trying to charm her. The genuine reaction of someone who had been eating gas station food and fast food drive-thrus for too long and had forgotten what real cooking tasted like. "Lord," he said, just that. "My grandmother would have liked you. She judged people by how they responded to her biscuits. The ones who said something clever, she never trusted. The ones who just went quiet, she figured they understood."
"Understood what?"
"That some things are too good for words." Tasha leaned one hip against the counter, arms folded, reading him with the same sharp attention she gave every stranger. 3 years of running this cafe had made her an expert at the quick read. Truckers wanted speed. Tourists wanted charm. Regulars wanted consistency and a little bit of gossip. This man wanted something she couldn't name yet, and that made the back of her neck prickle. "I'm Tasha," she said. She tucked a lock behind her ear, the sister lock she'd been growing since the year after Darnell, tight and neat, and hers in a way that the relaxed hair she'd worn during her marriage had never been. Darnell liked it straight. She liked it free.
Malik Cross.
He extended a hand across the counter. His grip was firm, dry, and he held on for exactly the right amount of time before letting go, a thing she noticed because Darnell used to hold on too long, turning a handshake into a leash, and she had trained herself to notice. "Cross," she repeated. "You got people here?"
"No, ma'am, just me."
"What brings you to Honeycomb, Alabama, Mr. Cross? Because I'll be honest, we're not exactly a destination." He smiled, small, controlled, a smile that suggested a bigger one lived somewhere deeper.
"Heard it was quiet."
"I'm looking for quiet."
"Well, you found it."
She refilled his coffee. "Quietest town in the country. Nothing happens here." That was the first lie she told him. She told it the way she told all her lies, which was with steady eye contact and a voice as smooth as the butter she put on those biscuits. Nothing happens here. As if the woods behind her house weren't holding a secret that could put her in prison for the rest of her natural life. By 7, the cafe was packed. Word traveled through Honeycomb the way kudzu climbed a fence post, which is to say with speed and total disregard for personal boundaries. Mrs. Patterson had claimed her regular stool before Tasha finished the first pot of coffee. She was 68 years old, had been married 3 times, buried 2 husbands, and divorced the 3rd, and possessed the kind of small-town intelligence network that the CIA would have envied. She wore her church hat even on Tuesdays, a lavender affair with silk flowers, because she believed a woman should always be prepared for the possibility of running into Jesus or a good-looking man, and she wanted to be properly dressed for either occasion. "Tasha Marie Bellamy," she said, using all 3 names the way only a church mother or a judge could get away with. "You want to tell me about that man, or you want me to make up my own story? Because you know mine will be better." Tasha wiped the counter and did not look up. "He's a customer, Mrs. Patterson. He came in, he ordered biscuits, he paid. That's the whole story." "Mm-hmm." Mrs. Patterson stirred 3 heaping spoons of sugar into her coffee, a ritual so violent that Tasha had to look away every time. The woman sweetened her coffee like she was punishing it. "A customer who happens to be 6-foot-something, with shoulders like a door frame, and a face that made you forget what you were saying to me mid-sentence. I saw you, Tasha. You stopped talking with your mouth open. I could see your feelings." "I did not." "You absolutely did. Now, where is he from?" "Says he's from Georgia. 8 years Army, military police." Mrs. Patterson set down her spoon. The playfulness left her face. "Military police. So he's an investigator." The word hit Tasha low in the stomach. She kept her hands moving, kept wiping the counter she had already wiped twice, kept her breathing smooth and her expression empty. "I believe that's what military police do, yes, ma'am." "And he just wandered into Honeycomb, Alabama, by accident? Into your cafe? Asking questions about who used to own the place?" Mrs. Patterson cut her eyes toward the corner where Malik was eating his second biscuit and reading the local paper. "Baby, I have been black in this state for 68 years. I know the difference between a man who wanders and a man who arrives. That man arrived." "You're making something out of nothing." "I'm making an observation out of evidence, and I have plenty of it. He sat on the stool closest to the door. He ordered his coffee black, which means he drinks it to stay sharp, not because he enjoys it. He checked every window and exit in this room before he even sat down. And he asked you questions like a man who already had the answers and wanted to see if yours matched." She pointed her spoon at Tasha. Sugar crystals scattered across the counter like tiny witnesses. "That is not a customer, Tasha. That is a man with a purpose." "Or a man who spent 8 years in the army and can't turn it off. Some people just carry their training with them." "Some people do." Mrs. Patterson's voice changed. The gossip dropped out of it, and what was left sounded like the woman who had raised 6 children through poverty and a no-good second husband and had buried the first one at 34. The woman who knew trouble because she had lived inside it. "I'm not trying to be in your business, baby. Lord knows I stay in everybody's business whether they want me to or not. But you built something real here. This cafe, this new life of yours, you earned every bit of it. And I would hate to see a good-looking man with a bad reason put any of that at risk." Tasha stopped wiping, looked at Mrs. Patterson, really looked, and saw that the old woman's eyes were soft with the kind of worry that had nothing to do with gossip and everything to do with love. "I hear you, Mrs. Patterson. I do." You hear me, but you're not going to listen. I can tell by your face." Mrs. Patterson picked up her coffee and took a long sip. "That's all right. I'll be here tomorrow. Same stool, same sugar, same mouth. You know where to find me." The morning rush brought the rest of the regulars in their usual order. Old Pete settled into his corner booth with the Honeycomb Gazette and a cup of black coffee. 82 years of quiet authority folded into a frame that had been tall once and was now settled, like a house that had shifted on its foundation, but still stood. Dale Hutchins took the stool nearest the television, already nursing a Budweiser at 7:15 a.m., which was early even for Dale. Jennifer from the post office, Harold and his wife Louise, Deacon Morris from Mount Zion Baptist Church, who ordered the same thing every day, scrambled eggs and wheat toast with a side of unsolicited scripture, and tipped exactly 15% because he had calculated the Lord's portion and found it acceptable. Normal Tuesday, normal life. The life she had built with her own 2 hands from the wreckage of a marriage that had been trying to kill her long before she decided to kill it first.
"Need any help around here?"
Malik asked when the rush thinned and Tasha was clearing plates and wiping counters and trying not to think about the word investigator sitting in her gut like something she'd eaten that wouldn't digest. He had moved to the end of the counter, watching her work with more than casual interest.
"I'm between things. Good with my hands."
"Between what things?"
"Jobs, cities, phases of life."
He said it lightly, but she heard the weight underneath.
"Came out of the army without a plan, which turns out to be a problem when you've spent your whole adult life having someone else tell you where to go and what to do."
She should have said no. Should have thanked him for the offer and sent him on his way with a to-go cup and directions to the Waffle House off the interstate. Every survival instinct she had, and she had developed more of them than most people would ever need, every single one was telling her that adding a former military police investigator to her daily life was the worst idea she'd had since she married Darnell Bellamy at 23 years old in the Mount Zion Baptist Church, with Mama Lois crying in the front row because she knew, the way grandmothers know, that the man at the altar was no good, and the girl in the dress was too young to see it.